All right, and welcome back. If you're looking for a way to relax in this new year that could also be good for your brain, why don't you try grandma hobbies? All right, so what is a grandma hobby, you may ask? That's a slow, hands-on, creative activity bringing calm and mindfulness. We're talking about knitting, gardening, sudoku, crossword puzzles, even baking with all that sourdough bread that's trending. You love all that stuff. Well, it's not just about relaxation, though. Learning new skills like deciphering the New York Times crossword or trying to figure out why your apple cinnamon loaf isn't rising the way it should, which I believe is very unique to producer Mary. That's not something you just try to do. All of it is helping your brain, boosting memory and thinking skills. Research shows that regularly engaging in these activities can lower the risk of dementia. We're joined now by Dr. Ashhar Ali, neurologist with Henry Ford Health, to kind of walk us through some of this. First of all, Doc, is this offensive to call them grandma hobbies? Is this a problem?
I think it's an honor, actually. I mean, I would love to attribute something that I've learned or doing because my grandmother used to do it. So I
Yeah.
think it's an honor, if anything.
All right, so kind of walk us through the science here. I mean, I guess I kind of understand the thought process behind if you're older and trying to keep your mind triggering, but why younger?
Yeah, I think what we're learning is that, now in our free time, a lot of us are resorting to sort of this passive scrolling of our screens, which is really not activating much of the brain. But when you involve yourself in a hobby that requires the additional senses like touch and hearing, and you're sort of repetitively doing something like knitting or baking bread, like you mentioned, sourdough, these sorts of things help build neural connections in the brain. They tap into areas of the brain that are relatively untapped with these screen following hobbies that we have. So all of this really does support brain health, and I think even initiating it from a younger age is good for you.
Did the research show that there are some activities that are better than others on that list of grandma hobbies?
Yeah, there's a list of different hobbies that seem to be the support not just brain health, but even other things like mental health and even social networking. And so, for instance, if someone were to get involved in a hobby that involves knitting and they join like a knitting club at their local church or community
Mhm.
center, then it helps sort of build those sort of social connections as well. And so we think that that's even better for the brain because now you're combining a hobby that activates the brain and makes it more agile, and combining that now with the benefits to the brain that come from social connections and networks.
Gotcha. I'm not sure how much of the study you've actually memorized here, so I apologize if I put you on the spot, but how were they able to measure something like this?
Yeah. So what we basically would do is it's more of a connection and you can say an association. So it's not that hobbies necessarily have shown to reduce it per se, but when you take a population of people, this was a very large study, and you compare those that have hobbies and those that don't, the ones that do have hobbies, especially these grandma hobbies, if you will, they over time are less likely to develop cognitive decline and dementia, and that's on everyone's minds these days. So we know there's a strong association. Now, you could argue that maybe the only reason you're pursuing a hobby is because you already have strong brain health. That's a possibility,
Hmm.
but it's more likely that starting a hobby and maintaining a hobby is actually then preventing cognitive decline and dementia.
Any connections or any discussions about those of us who, let's say, try to pick up a crossword puzzle and we have more stress and anxiety because I can't figure it out?
Yeah, I mean that problem solving can sometimes be a double-edged sword. I think it takes time. Certainly you want to challenge yourself to a limit, right? You don't want to overdo it. So every single time you're never getting that Sudoku or that Wordle
Hmm.
puzzle solved. So it should be something that requires your brain to be activated, but doesn't depress you because you're unable to complete the task.
You know, what I found interesting too in the study is that there's this calming that can actually happen as well. What's the connection?
Yeah, so we know now for sure that these grandma hobbies do elicit sort of this calming sensation, and it really does support mental health. And again, a lot of it has to do with when we're engaging in some of these activities like gardening or knitting or baking, these require our full attention and they require us to be present in that moment. And we know through research and through just experience now that when any individual really focuses on that present moment and is attentive to a task, we tend to feel much more calm and much more relaxed.
See, the non-scientist in me was thinking that it had something to do with eliciting memories of your fond grandma or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure that contributes as well.
Okay, Dr. Ashhar Ali, Henry Ford Health, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.